Here is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of June 2nd through the 6th. I will go over price targets on the 5-minute time frame, have a gap recap from May 27th through the 30th, and update the chart as well. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. First up is Sofi. We ended the week at $13.30, up 0.99%. This is where we are at resistance. To the north side takes us to roughly 1335, another potential take profit area, a potential sell limit area. And above that, should we be so lucky as to get to this level, which is pretty close, that would take us to 1341, another level of resistance and another potential take profit area. To the south side takes us back to the middle of the trend and the baseline, and that is roughly $13.10. Below that, at another level of support, there are many levels of support in between here, and that price level is $12.93, $12.85, and $12.76. And that is support, a potential buy-in area, a potential buy-in area, a potential buy-in area. This is also a potential stop-loss area, a potential stop-loss area, and another one. And if we're up here, down here could be a potential stop-loss area as well. Depends on how tight you like to play it. If we go south, it could bounce off of this line and go up, or we could grind sideways, or we continue our path downward because we are still on a downward path on the 5-minute time frame. Looking left, from last week, I started from here. This is Tuesday, actually. Was it Friday? But we had Memorial Day weekend, so the market was closed. So that was basically Tuesday to Friday. And what happened? We started at 1309, ended the week at 1330. Even though we are up, the chart is still going down. Note how we hit support and we sold off, hit resistance, the middle of the trend, and bounced, hit this line we marked out in 2024. This is support, another bounce. We blazed through the middle of the trend here, hit resistance again, sold off, and then sort of grinding down. But look at this wick all the way up. Here's 2, 3, and 4 standard deviations. It went above 4, and that is not normal. But you know what happens when we hit this level? People will take their profits and they will run, they will lock in, and they will leave. And that's exactly what happened. Price stays within 2 and -2 all day long. Anything outside of that is an outlier and a signal to either sell or to buy. All right, that's enough of SoFi, but I do want to one thing, which are the gaps. We still have a gap to the upside that will take us to 1391, and then other gaps as well, but I'll have to draw that out for you later. And that's cleaned up. What about, okay, we have a gap to the south side that is still in play. Oops, it's 1185. And I will extend that. I have no idea when it's going to touch. I just know that eventually it could. But we are only talking about from this period to this period. I'm only looking at this for 1 week, and we're not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. Just something to be aware of to the downside. And I think I have cleaned, yeah, pretty much everything I want to at this moment. Now, as I mentioned, just again very briefly, if my computer doesn't crash on me, we started, I'm going to turn off the magnet here to this wick. That is a 3%, 3.81% in a week. That is amazing. The banks won't even give you that much. The banks will give you 0.001, 0.002 if you're lucky, all day long. And from here to here, though, is a fall of roughly 5%. But that would have been my buy-in. That's a clear buy-in sign. Boeing is up next. Okay. We ended the day at 207.32, down 0.41%. We're basically at the middle of the trend, which would take us to 207.91. Resistance 211.29, 212.98, 214.80. To the south side, 204.30, 202.61, and 276 cents. Note the sell-off here at resistance, clear resistance. It will never hold. There will always be a pullback for possibly another attempt at another leg up. But that is profit taking right there. And then we hit the middle of the trend and then bounced off of that line. And last week we were here. The middle of the trend is now here, so that's nice to see. That's done. This gap needs to be cleaned. Right about there. That took us to 203.21. This gap, while it looks like it closed, it did not completely fill. This is still in play to the downside, but fortunately we are reversing and going up. But that still will haunt us to the downside whenever price reverts. And this gap to 210, oh, this is my previous public service announcement. I've updated it, but I'll show you that later. Let's get it out of the way for right now. So we have this gap that will take us to 217.69. That could definitely touch. See, we're here. That could definitely touch on to Monday. Monday, and could we hit it on this level on Friday? I don't know. I do like to play it conservatively, and at the end of the week we could end at 216.81, even though we're at what, 207 now. By the end of the week, yeah, possibly, if we continue to go up. And then watch out for this gap to the north side as well. And this gap, as I mentioned, still in play. Let's just drag it out so I remember that it's there. And then this gap is still in play as well. And this gap, we have many landmines to the south side, but we are not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. So the lowest we ended was here. Roughly there to here is a 6% return. Not too shabby. All right, that's done. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to get a drink of water. I am so happy that I am no longer hacking. It was horrible. I think I had that hacking situation for like 3 weeks. I'm sure you didn't like to hear it either, but boy, was that nasty. I call it my long COVID, just jokingly, of course. I think it was my allergies from the nasty wind that we get and all the dust, but I like to blame everything on COVID. Okay, long COVID at this point as a joke. I never got a COVID shot. I refused to grow a third eye and get all weird things happened to me that I did not want to chance. But I know many people had to, whether they wanted to or not, and that's terrible. I'm all about free will, free choice. Stop ramming things down my throat, especially taxes. Okay, I digress. Now, 60.59 is where we ended, down 1.38%. Look at this. Look at this downward channel. We are not in a good, it's not a good look, okay? All right, to the north side. Let me make it a little easier on me here. 61.08, 61.37, 61.64. And to the south side, the middle of the trend is here. Last week it was here, so that's good though. We actually, even though we are down, we ended higher, so that's positive. 59.94, 59.64, and 59.36. Yeah, Nike has been hurt for going woke, going broke. Just like many other companies, they need to stay out of politics, because who ends up paying the price? The shareholders. We all suffer for bad management, and these managers should go. And they need to clean house, get rid of everybody, and start over. It's just a bad taste. People remember. Okay, so we've got a gap that will take us down to 58.38. And we've got a gap that will take us to 65 whenever we reverse course. Okay. Let's see what else. And we have a gap within a gap that will take us to 63.19. We've got this mini gap to the upside as well. And we have this gap to the downside taking us to 60.07 from here to here to here. That will definitely close out on Monday. The RSI is already turning down. Check out the other time frames to give you different price actions. Oh, this one closed out of the gate on Monday. Or Tuesday, I should say, since the market was closed on Monday. Okay, that took us to roughly 61.27, ran up to resistance. You know what's going to happen. Fell back down, middle of the trend, grinding along this line for another pump up, and then a slap in the face. Okay, and this one touched about